What's up, y'all, and welcome back to the Ultimate Series by Practical Machinists. My name is Rebecca Wolfinger of Mil-Spec Manufacturing, and on today's episode, we are going to be taking you through our personal toolboxes. So let's kickstart this episode with the man, the myth, the legend, and of course, the hat, Ian Sandusky.
All right, guys, so this is my toolbox. The bottom half used to actually be a box that had been here forever that I basically claimed when I started working here many, many years ago. The top box is a gray that was actually in my old man's barn forever that I took out and cleaned up. And as you can tell, it's kind of gotten a little bit destroyed and dirty over the years, but that's how it goes. I am a sticker guy. Some of you guys are not sticker people. I like putting stickers all over it. I've got a pretty standard toolbox. You know, I have a little bit of everything in here. I think everybody has their just in case you need it, even though it's half dead tooling area in it. But the craziest thing in my toolbox is this right here. This is a drill that actually died many, many years ago when I was an apprentice. So probably, you know, getting close to 20 years ago. And I found a siren somewhere in the shop. So I decided to wire it up. And it's very fun because you can get people's attention really easily by going, which is fun.
Guys, welcome back to Mil-Spec Manufacturing. Check out our brand new tool crib we just got done making a couple weeks ago. It is so nice. So let's go ahead and take a gander, yeah? In this first cabinet, we keep all of our setup and our work holding supplies. And I'm sure as we live with it a little bit, we're gonna be changing it up and reorganizing it. But for now, this is where it's all living. Now back here, we keep two toolboxes. The first one is gonna be strictly machine shop stuff. The one back here is going to be just general tooling. You know, you got hammers, wrenches, sockets, and even electrical stuff. You never know when you're going to need it, but I guarantee at some point in your machine shop, you will need it. So we just keep everything separated, nice, lean, and clean. But let's see, in the first toolbox, let's go ahead and start opening these drawers, yeah? We have a bunch of cutters, followed by drills, and a deburring cabinet drawer, which is, you know, files, and we have some chamfer accessories, and of course, what some people call it, a whirlybird, a knuckle nibbler. There's plenty of names for this thing out there. And then, yep, that's just a junk drawer. We won't show you that stuff. Next one, we have the inserts plus insert bodies, and probably more of the screwdrivers than we really need. Tapping drawer. I'm sure y'all have one of those. And of course, more drills. Now on top of this, we went ahead and invested into some really nice American-made metal tool holders. So as we are expanding our tooling collection, we are just going ahead and pre-assembling everything. And we've even 3D printed plastic tags so we can have everything completely leveled. Or not leveled, labeled. Everything is labeled. And as we continue to grow the collection, it will just completely span across this toolboxes. And then I splurged a little bit on just, you know, extra details by buying these lights. And they are motion activated, so when someone walks back here, the lights pop on, which is a really nice little touch. But let's go ahead and see what Luke's got going on in his machine shop, guys.
Hey team, this is Luke of Practical Machinists, and right now we're going to go over a tour of my wonderful Kennedy toolbox. Fun fact, the top was my grandfather's that he gave to my father, and of course my father sold it to me for an egregiously expensive price. Just kidding, he gave it to me. Let's check it out. So now to give her a tour of the box, I'm loaded out with Kennedy, Kennedy top, Kennedy bottom. This up here is like the rest of it, normally a junk drawer. The drawer I probably use the most is all my files. Use them all the time on setup or repairing parts. Got my chuck keys, different drill chucks, tap handles. When I'm on a day manual machining, here's what I use for different drills, taps that are common for stuff I have to make around here for fixturing. Also, different tool making stuff I keep in here. Small little screwdrivers and scribes. when I'm manual machining scribes, die chem, and a straight edge. Some of my most commonly used tool. Top drawer, hex keys, old set of broken calipers that I don't mind beating up a little bit. Smaller adjustables. This is my programming drawer. Got a 100-year-old mic for some reason, calculator paper, different resources for hand programming. All my open end and box end wrenches I use on the various machines. This might be the one that I use most frequently when I'm on setup. Different hammers, breaker bars, chunks of brass. Now for the coolest drawer with the weirdest stuff I have in here. Right here. Machinery handbook from my grandfather. Got it a long time ago. Got this from my uncle who is now no longer with us. And from my days on the Brown and Sharps, for any of you old heads out there, geometric die head. Love this whole thing.
I really don't have a lot of stuff in it. I only keep what I need and what I use so it doesn't get all cluttered. So this is my first drawer. I have calipers, mics and stuff in here, and a bunch of broken indicators. So if there's anybody out there that knows somebody that does indicators and fixes them, let me know. All right, so this is drawer number 2. Bunch of debur tools is basically what it is. Here's my favorite one. This is a tool that I've had since I was 18 years old. I keep on sharpening it. It's just a little debur knife that I use. Custom. I just ground down countersinks, some pizza cutters. I did use these quite a bit, these 2 stones right here. These are diamond stones, so what these are for is basically honing edges. When I was doing a lot of lathe tooling or just relieving radiuses on cutters or, dulling down reamers so they cut better, I would use these quite a bit. Yeah, they worked quite well, but I haven't used them really here because I don't even have a grinder, but at some point I'll probably put these back in service so I can use them. All right, drawer number 3. Batteries. Always got to have batteries, some magnets, feeler gauges, and yeah, just some random stuff. These little cute little cant twists. I bought these, never use them. I just like them because they're small. All right, number 4, parallels. Bunch of them. All right, drawer number 5. One of these height setter touch off guys that I smashed with my tool, and a bunch of thin parallels. Sometimes you just need really, really thin parallels. And plus I use these parallels to actually, shim my soft jaws when I cut them. And some mics. Got these from my uncle who passed away. He was a machinist too. And so I just bought them from his estate. And last we have the junk drawer. Stone sharpener. Use this right here. It's probably one of the most important pieces in this drawer. It's the level. Make sure you have a nice level to level your machines. But I must say, I do love the labeler. Use the label a lot. I do need to get a different one though for one that's waterproof because my labels are they don't like the coolant so much. With some reject tags. Never had to use them before. All right, that is my toolbox. But there is one thing in here I use the most, and that's probably my indicator base. So right here, I use this thing all the time. So basically put an indicator in there, just magnet it down, shove an indicator in here, bash the needle off, whatever. But basically I use this on the lathe. I use it to indicate tools in. I just use it for a lot of stuff, check the spindle, run out, and stuff like that. I have a couple of them that I was going to make. Basically bought these little magnets, and then I just took a bolt and just turned down the bolt head and just bought a couple of these. But yeah, this is probably my most used tool in here. Now I do have one other special thing in here, and that's because it's really a screw up is what it is. And I made it. It's a high-speed reamer that I made, reaming through 16 stainless, and it didn't like it. This high-speed reamer, see how it's nice and spiraled? So I did that. It's supposed to be straight. I did that while I was working on a stainless job. I was trying to ream it with a high-speed steel reamer, and it stuck, and then it just kept twisting, and then it made this pattern, so I ended up having to keep it. I couldn't really throw it away because, it was kind of like a special screw up, when I was younger. So I think I did this when I was like 20. So I've had it for, 28 years. But yeah, I have my little special reamer. All right, so that's my toolbox. I'm not sure what everybody else has in their toolbox. I'm for sure Pat has some barbecue sauce in there. He has to.
Hey guys, Patrick here from RBSA Industrial. I guess today we're going to show off what's in our drawers. Wait. Anyway, I bought this box from my first boss. His name was Brad Castile. I worked for him for the first 6 months or so at my very first job. He ended up leaving there after a few months, but I kept up with him through the years. And when he decided eventually to downsize, he offered me the chance to buy his toolbox. I'm glad I did because Brad's no longer with us, but I think the best thing I can do to kind of honor him is use his box just like he did and get to share his story thanks to Practical Machinist. So now we'll take a look at what's inside. All right, so first drawer. This is basically my #1 use items. So everything that I use almost on a daily basis: Allen wrenches, calipers, mics, deburring tools, indicators. Drawer #2, I've got my depth mic, a couple of other specialty mics, stickers, got to have those, and some layout tools. I use those quite a bit in this line of work. This is kind of my mill drawer. So basically a lot of mill tooling, ratchet for changing out soft jaws, dead blow hammer, keys, jaws. Can never have enough 1, 2, 3 blocks. Kind of more mill stuff, screw jacks, extra calipers, a precision set of 1, 2, 3 blocks. The biggest thing in this drawer is this book right here. I got this in tech school. It's basically taken from Machinery's Handbook. Very, very handy. And then my library of drills and taps and tap wrenches, tap drill chart, and over here I do have a full set of thread files. All right, on this side, deburring. You guys learned all about that on the last video. Files, deburring tools, stones, the works. Kind of just my hand tool drawer. You know, hammer, punches, wrenches. Biggest thing that I probably use in here is these long needle nose pliers. They're great for pulling out lathe chips. This is just a catch-all. I mean, I've got just random junk in here, but you know, when I need it, I need it. Then in this drawer, again, it's kind of just a catch-all, but like I've got my die grinder in here. I use that quite a bit. Extra safety glasses, things like that. Pain medicine for when I just can't take it anymore. Last drawer, this is the one I'm not real proud of. It's kind of my junk drawer. What the heck's that doing in there? Well, he looks like he knows what he's talking about. Anyway, just, you know, excess stuff. I've got a bunch of can't twist clamps, sockets, hex bits, angle plates, just all kinds of excessive stuff. Biggest thing I use in here is probably these long tin snips. I use them for cutting open heat treat bags. All right, and if I had to pick one oddball unusual tool in my box, it would be this right here. This is called a shallow bore gauge. You use it by setting it to a ring gauge or a set of gauge blocks with ears on each side, and then you can use it as a way to measure a precision bore that is just too shallow for a dial bore gauge to reach. I've met a lot of machinists in my 11 years in the trade, and a lot of them have never seen this tool before. All right, folks, that's it for my toolbox tour.
Hey guys, what's up? John Dillehay here with 2S in Performance, and I'm going to give you guys a little tour of my toolbox for Practical Machinists. So come check it out. So what I have right here in my shop is a classic wrinkled brown Canadian toolbox from somewhere before 1983. I don't know the exact model number, but I do know this because I've investigated the styles of drawer pulls, and this one is definitely a more rare one before 1983. So starting from the top drawer, I'm going to show you guys all the stuff that I can usually get to the quickest. That's why I have everything here at the top drawer. Starting on the left here, I have a snap gauge, I have a 1-inch micrometer, my digital 1-inch micrometer, and my coolant-proof calipers that I use a lot. I also have a manual conventional 2-inch micrometer, and over here on the right is like my go-to stuff. Right here I've got my little deburring whips, easy access. I've got my files right here. I've got metric and standard Allen wrenches. I've got my my stop lock, Sharpie. I've got my shim for cutting soft jaws. My rule for cutting stock on the bandsaw. I've got my razor blade for deburring tight holes and stuff. My edge finders in here. I've got a 3/8 and a 1/2 inch edge finder. I've got my stone for stoning my table and material. I've got extra blades for my deburring whips. I've got all kinds of stuff in here. This is the stuff that I need to get when I'm on the fly and I really need it. This is my go-to right here. Also, of course, I've got my TI-83 calculator for, you know, doing my edge finding and moving my work offset on the fly. That's really important. Second drawer down here is like a hellhole. I don't know about you guys, but if you don't have a million metal chips in your toolboxes, are you even a machinist? Because I'll tell you what, I do. So yeah, this is like a jumble of basic hand tools for stuff when I need to adjust a fixture real quick. I've got Torx screwdrivers. I have stuff to adjust tool holders that have weird sizes. I have all my tap wrenches. Also right here, I keep my thread inserts for doing fixture plates. And I also keep all my STI taps for putting in those thread inserts, all in the same spot. I have an extra air nozzle here, all the needle nose pliers and tweezers and random stuff that I would need. When something comes up, it's all right here in this jumbled up drawer right here. Over here, I have my mirror, so I can indicate my test indicator on a circular pocket or a hole. So that helps a lot. When I do that, I can just grab it right here. I've got my magnifying glass for when I want to inspect the flutes or teeth on my tools. I can make sure everything is good and it's not too dull or have any broken flutes. I got some mill inserts, indexable mill inserts. I got my shims. I also have this guy right here, my protractor. You know, I don't have a 5-axis machine, so sometimes if I want to make an angled hole, I can just set my part at an angle with that in the jaws of my vise, and I can be good enough for a few parts. I've got my little file kit, and that's pretty much it, you know. I've got some batteries and some ferrules for my oil system on my machine. Down here is my vise and work holding drawer. So over here we'll have a lot of the Allen head sockets for taking jaws on and off. Sometimes when you have deep soft jaws, you need a little extension, so I've got that. I've got big extensions for, you know, 6-inch vices for mounting them on and off. I've got a torque wrench for setting torque on my vices when I'm doing plastic and stuff like that. I've got extra handles for my 4-inch vices. Random sockets that I use frequently, and over here I'll have like my studs and T-nuts in different sizes. So these are all right here good to go. I've got my random Mighty Bites that I might use, Allen wrenches that I do use for the fixturing. So that is my second drawer. Oh, and I also use these as parallel separators because, you know, I'm old school and kind of ghetto like that. Here, I've got parallels. If I can get this open. Micrometer, 2-inch, Quantum mic. Got 6-inch hard jaws, tape measure, test indicator, hard jaws for 4-inch vices. Got more 1, 2, 3 blocks, and this is one of my favorite things here. Probably one of the weirdest things in here. This would be my pen mic. I'm going to keep that out because I'm going to explain that in a minute. Right here I have my pen gauge set. So I can check all my hole sizes. It's really important for accuracy and precision when machining. Also, another really important thing here is 12-inch calipers that are coolant proof. Man, I use these things a lot on big stuff. I have thread repair kits for making thread inserts and things. Right here, I have my refractometer to check my coolant concentrate levels. Right here, I have, it's hard to do this one-handed, man. You know what? There we go. Yeah, indicator. Down here is all my frequent drill bits that I use for drilling for different jobs. These are my cheap little tap and die kits. Right here, they're just my backup taps. If I break nice ones, I have them right there. And then these are my jobber drills that are cheap. You know, if I break them, I don't cry about it. Last shelf right here, I have a fixturing kit right here with toe clamps and studs and all kinds of stuff. That's pretty cool. I've got T-slot fillers for my table to keep chips out of the T-slots. I got 246 blocks, and I have lots of spare bandsaw blades. So, yeah, I think that'll do it. I think that's it. Hey, let me show you this one thing that I think is really special. So my weirdest tool in my toolbox is most definitely this Mitutoyo pin mic. When you see a pin mic, you're like, what can I really measure with that? Like, what would I use that for? So I'm going to give you guys an example about why I have it in my box. I really don't use it too much anymore, but at a job shop I worked at, we used to do a lot of aerospace and semiconductor work, and we did these semiconductor parts out of heat-treated Inconel 718. They look like this. Now, a lot of these parts had a very specific bolt circle and positional callouts for GD and T with a maximum material condition, and we used a CMM to check them to make sure the parts were good after each first article was set up on the machine. And as we're running, as tools get dull, it's always good to check your parts as they're going. It's called in-process inspection. And instead of running to the CMM every time we wanted to check a part, we use these pin mics. And now how this pin mic works is we put a Deltronics pin gauge inside of the pin mic. A Deltronics pin is a pin gauge that is accurate to 1/10 of 1,000th. So we would take an extremely accurate pin gauge, put it in the pin mic, and we would put it in one of the holes in the bolt circles on the part like that. And you can just check the distance from the center of the hole to the outside edge of the part on a symmetrical bolt circle, and go to the opposite side and check that, right? And you can see how far off center you are within tenths. And these are actually really, really accurate, and they're super, super handy. Oh, there goes my pen. Anyways, that's probably my weirdest tool in my box, but it's a really good tool to have, and it is actually really cool when you need it. So, John Dillehay, 2SM Performance. I'm out for Practical Machinist. This is my toolbox. Weirdest tool in the toolbox. Have a good night.
All right, guys, I really need to know who had the wildest, the craziest, or maybe the best toolbox in this video. Let me know in the comment section. As always, we really appreciate y'all for hanging out with us today. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss another episode of Practical Machinist. I will catch you on the next episode. Bye, guys.